Yes, and the system we're talking about is used by the client to purchase their electricity need on a daily basis. Before they had this system, they had a manual purchasing process in which they received the bids from all the suppliers and then had to calculate what the perfect combination of bids would be, and that process would take days to weeks to define which contracts to close in order to fulfill the electricity need. But because the government wants that process to be more open and have a shorter time to market, they needed to automate that process. And at this moment, they're doing that process on a daily basis, thanks to our software. And the plans for the future are to do that 6 times a day and eventually even 24 times a day. So buy the electricity need every hour for the next hour. And that's only possible because the algorithm in which we calculate the optimal combination of bids is becoming so much quicker than the old way of working. Well, delivering 120 sprints successfully, let me first define what successful in this case means. We're working in an agile way, like most teams do nowadays, but what is usual in a Scrum or agile way of working is that by the end of the sprint, you tell the client how much of the work you were able to do and which part of the work is postponed into the next sprint. The disadvantage of that is that you don't act reliable or predictable, and lots of other teams are dependent on what you deliver, but they cannot count on you because they don't know for sure if you are delivering what you promised. So our aim is to always deliver 100% of the things we promised. So in the sprint review meeting, we're not telling what we were able to achieve. No, we're demonstrating, improving that we have built and tested and delivered everything that we promised 100%, and we were able to do that 120 times in a row without a single exception. All the sprints were delivered 100% right. Of course, a bug here and there, but we never had to postpone any single story of those sprints. How do we achieve that? By having changed one of the other rules of agile working, we don't let everything depend on the oral transformation of information. We have a solid requirements process. Everything is specified and written and documented. So we communicate a lot with the team, but the specifications and the requirements are always written down and signed off by the client before the sprint starts, which means that the team has a solid basis on which they can calculate and define the solutions or the architecture, and can make the promise that they deliver the contents of the sprint 100% right. That gives them the right to refuse the requirements if they think they cannot be successful based on the state of the requirements. So that's some sort of a negotiation between me and the team. If they think based on this input I cannot promise 100% correct output, then they're able to refuse their input. So that's something I had to learn, how to write solid specifications that contain every little detail that they need to be successful. So what it takes is an honest communication. If people think that's not good enough to build a promise on, then they need to be secure. They need to trust their own knowledge and their own abilities, and without hesitation say, well, I need better specifications, please give me better input because I need to be able to promise my output. And that mentality, so in a friendly way telling that what you did isn't good enough for them to be successful, that's a mindset, or it's something that you don't find in every company. And we could find this in IWConnect, which is quite special, and it's worth a lot to us. The role of the team in these sprints was development, architecture, quality assurance, and as secondary tasks, helping me define the requirements and helping the client with installing and testing and going live. But the core competences were architecture, development, and QA. Quality assurance is a good quality of the input, which means that our business consultants need to have their work reviewed in a peer review and a client review and a formal sign-off, but also it requires the team to be able to do an intake on the quality of the work they receive. And the next thing about quality assurance is that there is a proper quality assurance and testing mechanism within the development team. So there need to be testers who are concise, precise, dedicated to their work, work in a very strict and professional manner, and are very open and honest in their communication, telling me about the status of the quality and problems they may encounter and how to solve the problems and how I can help the team being successful. The most important technical issue that we had, or challenge that we had, is that our system has a lot of interfaces in receiving data and in sending data. But since we are working with highly classified information, we don't have access to the other systems that we're interfacing with. So the only way that we could overcome this is by writing very strict and precise interface specifications. Most of them are based on XML, so it's not complex to document them properly. And for many of the interfaces, we have proper interface descriptions already existing from those other systems. And the other thing it needs is a team that is able to work with those detailed specifications and being able to interpret XML structures or deliver XML structures that are exactly according to specs, even though they don't have the other system available to test. So it's pure based on manual checks of the data structures. Even though some of the messages that our system sends have as much as 60,000 lines of data. So it was quite a challenge, but if you have good specifications and a dedicated team, it's possible.